Right, we're back. We're live. Lovely. We had some issues. Where will we start from the start again?
Go wherever you want.
Okay. So, what were we talking about? Let's get straight in. So I was saying basically I haven't heard about your journey.
Yeah.
With ayahuasca. Even though we've known each other for a fair while now, and I know that you have had experiences. So yeah, I'm interested to hear your experience firsthand, first of all, and then we can get into some other stuff. And I think the reason for this is like it's important for people to hear different perspectives on this stuff, because like my experience is probably completely different to your experience, and like I know Brian, who will be talking as well, like his experience probably completely different again. And that's the thing about like these plant medicines, is that like it's not like a drug where you approach this thing with just the experience is going to be the same for everyone, you know. It's like it's very much to do with you, and how you express the lessons that you learn from it, I suppose. So
it's so personal. Yeah, one of the reasons I came on today and to talk to you about this is to demystify ayahuasca and take the kind of woo-woo hipster culture around it out of it, for anyone that's listening to this, because for me it really is a medicine, and it's something that we have used as human beings for thousands of years, not just like centuries, like thousands of years. And as we evolve as humans, we're getting so much further away from our true nature. And that's something that you pursue and you invest your time and energy in on a daily basis, with getting people back in touch with the wild part of themselves, but also getting them back in touch with the true part of themselves, parts of themselves that aren't conditioned by corporations or media or, toxic masculinity or toxic femininity even, or peer groups that aren't good. So for me, ayahuasca, and that's why we probably haven't had to go deep on it, because we feel the growth of one another, and there's like almost, even though your experience of the medicine might have been totally different to mine, there's a mutual understanding of, oh, okay, that person is looking to do work on themselves and is looking to heal parts of themselves, or they're not afraid to look at themselves. And I think that's ultimately, it's a form of therapy, but it's also a form of insight. Like one of the things I that really tweaked me about it when I was going deep on this kind of sacred plant combination is that there's a book written by a guy called Jeremy Narby called Intelligence in Nature, and it basically just speaks about how a group of scientists went to the Amazon, and they were studying this research, and they had this research that they were sitting on for so long, and after sitting with a shaman in ceremony with, in a holistic space, they all came away from ceremony saying that there was no new information, there was just a greater understanding of the information that they had, and they were able to solve the problem further and move forward. So I feel like, part of this conversation for me is to just open people's minds up to ayahuasca as a potential tool that they may use in their lives, because it's had a massive benefit on me and who I am. You can ask my mother, you can ask anybody, not that I was living in a bad way before, but just they see its positive effects on my life and on who I am, but also as a part of an ongoing process of self-development, a part of an ongoing journey. It's not a miracle drug. It's not a drug first and foremost. It's not something that's going to just change everything. But if you're already starting on the path of trying to improve your life and trying to live better and live more in line with your true nature, then this medicine is for you, and it's something that can help you, yeah.
You touched on some interesting stuff there. Like, one thing that I always think of is, like, I suppose after my own experience, it's not like people maybe approach it now a little bit flippantly. So people hear about this thing and it's like, oh yeah, ayahuasca, I want to go and do that. And it's like nearly this like recreational kind of,
almost like a checklist. Or
like a badge of honor. And like it's actually, like, for me personally, I don't know about you, I want to hear about this from you, but like for me, when I came back, it was very difficult, like for me, for a long period of time. Like I would say I went through a year, maybe longer, of just like a real darkness, like, for me, And
where was that coming from?
Well, I think I had a lot of stuff going on, like in terms of, like, I was going through, like, I had been in the army for like way too long. It was at a point where I just like hated that. I didn't want to be there. I had set up a business outside with a friend, and that was my get out strategy, you know, and then that all went tits up. I lost my best friend in the process at the time. Betrayal happened, and like there was lots of things that went on that all at once. That just, plus the fact that after I'd gone and done the ayahuasca and came back, I was like a lot more raw and kind of open. As I'm sure you know, when you come back, you have this like openness where it's like everything is really raw. So,
sensitive, yeah.
Yeah, so, and like it was really, really, really fucking hard for me to reintegrate and to actually implement the stuff that I wanted to implement from the ceremonies, you know. And I think that would, like, that's why I wouldn't just say to people, yeah, go do it, you know what I mean? I would say to people, like, be cautious and make sure that this is something that you really want to do, because like you're gonna look at some shit that you don't want to see, you know what I mean?
And you have to be prepared for that, yeah.
Yeah, like if you're going to do this, you better be prepared for like big changes to happen, you know? Like I would say my friend circle, the people that I'm around has changed and shifted, and like a lot of people have gone, but a lot of amazing people have come, you know, like yourself, and lots of people that have a different way of looking at things, and that's amazing. But at the same time, it's always hard, like when you feel yourself shifting away from other people as well. But like just embracing that and kind of trying to be at peace with it is.
Would you say that you're more, since coming back from having your journey with the medicine, that you're more in line, or you feel more in line with your true nature than you did before?
Yeah, like the one big thing for me that I realised while I was there was that I wasn't expressing myself like truly. I wasn't putting my true self out into the world, you know.
That's massive.
Yeah, like it was a shell that I was putting out, and there's loads of reasons for that, and we all have this stuff where, like, growing up, I had to put out this like machismo shell, and I had to, like, in order to protect myself. That was necessary, like, for me, the way I grew up. It wasn't an option. And then the army, of course, on top of that didn't help. That's
just a lot of conditioning there, you know.
Super
fear based as well.
Just the general societal conditioning that men pick up of, you know, we're supposed to be this fucking John Wayne character, and, you know, the lone cowboy with zero feelings that just like absorbs everything and is still like a moral, virtuous person. And like that's such a hard balance to strike, and ultimately it turns out bad. You know, it's
unhealthy.
Yeah,
it's imbalance.
Exactly.
Because it's not showing vulnerability or emotion. You're not releasing any of the things in a healthy way, you know.
Exactly. So for me, it was just like, wow. I like. Then there was the whole process of just trying to figure out who the fuck I am. You know, and that was the real thing.
If I'm not all of these things, then who am I?
Yeah.
And that's so scary for anyone to face.
Yeah. But exciting at the same time, you know.
Well,
it's
truth.
Adventure, you know, of like, yeah. And I equate that to like the hero's journey, you know, this thing of like, and like a medicine journey is like that. It's like you get separated. All the stages of the hero's journey are present in a medicine journey, you know. It's like all of those stages are right there, including the coming back with the treasure and, you know, sharing that with your tribe, which is like enlightenment in some regard about yourself, you know.
Just for anyone who's listening, I just don't. The hero's journey is for everyone. Do you know what I mean? I just don't want to, because I think people, if they don't know that, they could misunderstand that. And I know the place you mean it from, but as in, like, the hero's journey is going. How would you describe the hero's journey?
Well, like the hero's journey is a, like Carl Jung, the great psychologist, kind of penned the hero's journey, and it was seen in all mythology that there's these like stories from all cultures in the world. They have these similar kind of storylines, and basically all of these myths and legends, they represent a journey into ourselves to a certain extent, you know. And like, so Saint George going out and slaying the dragon, like the dragon represents your own issues and problems and insecurities, and the idea is that, like, by slaying the dragon, you are facing down your own issues before they kill you, basically, or before they make your life hell, you know. And that is the hero's journey, and the hero's mentality is sallying forth and you know, facing your demons, your dragons, whatever they may be, and that's all of your own shit and your ancestral shit and your cultural shit that has been accumulated, you know, and kind of standing there and saying like, what will, like,
how can I be better? Like,
yeah, exactly, and facing down your own demons, and then the treasure that you get from the dragon's lair is your own, is you, like it's the real true you, you know, and that's like the hero's journey. But the mentality of that heroic journey is to essentially just go and face your demons down, you know, and that's what these medicine journeys are, isn't it? It's like, it's not all happiness and tripping and visuals and having a good time. Like, you know, ayahuasca certainly isn't like a jolly old time. It's work. You know?
It is work. It's the deepest work. Yeah, we went on a bit of a journey before we even started rolling here, where you would ask me about kind of my journey into it, and I can talk.
Yeah, absolutely. For it. That's why we're here, brother.
Yeah. I first heard about ayahuasca about 5 years ago. And as I was saying, the minute I heard about it, I was like, that sounds like something that I've heard before, or it sounds like something that's aligned with me. There's truth in that, there's growth in it. And I just heard about it just through this this guy used to set up a table opposite my apartment in Los Angeles, and he would just have empathy 5 cents on the front of it, and he'd be sitting there and it'd be just a chair opposite him outside the community garden. There was like a school community garden with their school kids used to go in, and other people used to go and attend the garden, and he'd just sit outside it for like 3 hours every Saturday morning. And I just went up to him and I was like, dude, what are you doing? And he goes, I'm just offering empathy to people. Like, that's all I'm doing. I'm just sitting here, and if anyone who's walking by needs empathy or just needs someone to listen to them, I'm here. And something about that radical, so simple in practice, but so radical in theory. Like, he's just there to give, and I was like interested in him. So he used to run this thing called Radical Empathy at his house. He was a psychologist and a psychotherapist, and he used to run this thing at his house every week, where people would show up and you have this card of like instructions of how to follow and give empathy to people, and you would swap over roles. You'd receive empathy, then you'd give empathy, and it was like group therapy. And it was just, from that, I just remember going, this guy is really trying to be his best self, but trying to help others. And I attributed a lot of what he spoke about in ayahuasca to his positive traits. So I got offered an opportunity to go and do ceremony while I was living in LA, and I didn't. Just didn't transpire. It wasn't in the flow. And ultimately, I decided then, after living in LA for 2.5 years, that it was time for me to kind of pack up my life there. Before coming back to Ireland to start to build my own kind of life here and future and work here, I needed to go to the source of the medicine and go to Peru. It had really hooked me that much that I felt like I needed to go and investigate this, that it was something that was going to be good for me and was ultimately going to help me just be a better person and show me things that I needed to look at. And I went to Mendocino, as I was saying, and I worked with the great plants up there, the marijuana plant, and was cultivating that and helping there. And I managed to save some money and flew to New York for Halloween, and then from there dropped into Ecuador, and I started to make my way down through South America and really started to understand the South American culture around community, around songs, the Icaros, and started to just get a flavour for that as I was journeying down, and then landed in Peru. And was in Peru for 2 months, and the main purpose of the whole trip was ayahuasca. And I made my way out to Pucallpa, which is it's southeast of the Amazon in the Ucayali River region, and I actually had an interesting way to finding my shaman, and not to demystify shaman, to find my facilitator, to find the person that was going to help hold space for me to journey with myself, who was going to, cook the medicine, basically, who had a safe space for me to go and do that. That's what a shaman really is in this realm, anyway, who has the songs, that has the lineage, that has the experience, who can help you help yourself, really. But the first shaman that I investigated was a guy called his name was Don Jose Campos, and he was he was like the shaman, you know. He was in Iquitos, and I researched him, and I found out at the time he came through a source. I always go through friends for this sort of stuff, which is, I think, is really important. Don't just jump online and jump on some tourism, ayahuasca tourism thing. Go and investigate through personal connections of people you know have had good experiences in good spaces that the energy's been held in away. Like, follow that, you know, because it's proven there's a link there. It's safer. But anyway, this guy was in prison in Paris for facilitating ayahuasca. The French are really hard on hallucinogens and freedom of consciousness, and he was in prison. So I was like, oh, whoa, that's the first person I look to who's come as a really good source is not even in Peru. He's locked up in Paris.
Wow.
The second shaman, which was recommended through a therapist friend of mine who was living in San Francisco, was a guy called Don Marcial.
Okay.
He lives in Pucallpa, or had lived in Pucallpa, and I found that he was actually, and this is again, I'm demystifying, but I'm also giving the darkness with the light. I'd found out that he had been shot in the head for practicing dark work with the medicine. So
wow.
some of the community there had seen that he was not using the medicine well, and ultimately ended his life. So I was there in Peru without, you know, my place to go, but wanting to really investigate the medicine. I was like, whoa, the first two paths that I've really gone down have shown me that maybe this isn't for the right time. And I was trying to listen to the omens. I was like, okay, this is kind of mad. But this guy, Don Marcial, had a younger American guy who was studying under him, who was trying to learn the medicine. And Justin, who had recommended Don Marcial to me, was like, yeah, this guy Gabriel was studying under him, seemed really good. Maybe you should get in touch with him. So I was like, okay. Got linked to his Facebook profile, sent him a message. I was like, how are you, Gabriel? I'm just curious about the course that you run, where it is. And the first thing he said to me was like, this isn't a cookie cutter thing. If you're serious about doing the work and you want to, you know, learn about the medicine, but not just come and do ayahuasca. If you want to learn about the dieta, which is all of the plants, the holistic approach to this, if you want to come into the Amazon, you want to really learn, then we can work together. And I just love that. Straight off the bat, I was like, he's fucking straight on. Like, he's I'm not fucking around. I was like, okay, really, really like this guy. So messages exchanged, told me how to prepare, a couple of weeks of preparation, you know, no meat, no sex, no drugs, no, you know, bad energy, you know, not to be eating the wrong things. Yeah, no sugar, no heavy salted foods, and to just protect yourself for a couple of weeks so you're coming in at a good baseline. So I ended up meeting him, and I went to Pucallpa, and it's like somewhere from Thailand, like a little town from Thailand. Tuk-tuks everywhere. I'm in the Amazon. I'm like, this is mad. And he met me at the airport, and he shows him. He's like, Marquito, what's up? How are you? I was like, what's up, man? How are you? He goes, I'm Gabriel Patrick Lynch. And I was like, your name is Patrick Lynch. I was like, so I've come all the way to Peru.
What?
And I was like, you're Patrick Lynch, yeah. So ended up just being like, this is kind of nuts. My shaman's called Gabriel, the angel Gabriel, and his second name and his last name is Patrick Lynch. He's of Irish descent. First, I think his dad had moved over, his granddad had moved to Pennsylvania. I think he's second or he's third generation, had moved to Pennsylvania. And he'd been living in Peru for 10 years. He was he studied Eastern medicine in China, and he was just really trying to learn. He'd done Kung Fu, he'd studied meditation, he'd lived with like this amazing Chinese kind of guru, teacher, I'd say more of a teacher, and then had been in Peru for 10 years and looked Peruvian, you know, like really brown skin, dark hair, dark features, and looked like a Shipibo tribe member. And I'd heard from other people that his songs and the Icaros that he sung are like so akin to the Shipibo tribe, you know, like 1,000-year-old songs. And he's really a great facilitator and really a great person. So met him, and he was just super direct, very, very calm guy, just really direct with his communication. So I stayed with him in his kind of hot spring retreat center that he was just starting to build for 3.5 weeks. And during that time, I had 3 different ceremonies. And when I first got there, he said, look, you've come ready. I can see your energy is good. You're ready to go here. There's a purging plant called Wankawi Sacha. And it was just this kind of taro leafed plant, and he just took one leaf off, ground it up, put it in a tea, and morning one was like, do you want to purge today, like to reset yourself in order for you to be in a good place to really be able to let the medicine do the work in your body, in your mind, in your energy? And I was like, sure, man. So drank this tea, and about an hour later I mean, I could just feel no hallucinogens, no nothing. But this was just purging during the day. This was so 8 a.m. drank, 9 a.m. I'm in my hut, and I can just feel. And I'm drinking loads of water to try and help it move around, but I can just feel it just getting into my intestines. It's getting into my gut. It's getting into like all the parts of my liver, and it's just excruciating. It's just working its way around my body, like rinsing out a cloth, and I'm just constantly purging for about 9 hours. And every so often, yeah, Gail, who was one of the other guys who was in the retreat centre, there's only 4 of us there the whole time, really remote, and there was a couple of Peruvian workers building, and I was just there, and I remember just lying there, and he was like, Marquito, keep drinking the water, and I must have gotten to about 4 litres of my own. It had come through me, and right at the very end, I was just like, ugh. And this last bit that came up was like, I can only describe it as like bile. It was just the rawest, most acidic form of just toxins that had been stored in all of those organisms. And I remember it. And then I just felt this release, and I was like, okay, I'm so healthy. I'm probably the healthiest I've ever been. It's all worked its way through me. And then 3 nights later, I had my first ceremony. And it was in my hut. It was the whole centre that he has. It's called Ampiri Ayahuasca. Is on a hot spring river. So beautiful because you get on the river. You get into this symbiotic relationship with nature. You'd love it. You're drinking from the river. You're washing in the river. You're shitting in the river. And it's all going back to nature. Toucans are coming and washing in the river at 5 o'clock in the morning. They're waking you up, and there's like monkeys and snakes and lizards and butterflies and owls and all this stuff. And you're just like, you just start to get into that pace of how we would be if we weren't living in this, constructed, augmented reality that's put on top of the natural world. This is how we would live, and this is how we have lived in harmony with the planet for thousands of years. And yeah, my first ceremony was heavy. I went back and was forced to look at some deeply rooted fears I had around my father and my grandfather. On that side, my grandfather was an alcoholic, my father was an alcoholic. My mother raised me, and when I was in the womb, when I was 4 months in the womb, my mum decided to raise me on her own. And I remember always having a fear that I never knew I had, that I would one day end up to be like my father, one day end up becoming an alcoholic, and being really destructive and allowing. And I was lying in the river. It was about 4 hours into ceremony, and I've purged a lot, and I've had a lot of visions. I've had a lot of like deep fear-based visions. And ayahuasca is known, if you don't do the work, it can sometimes be like a river of misperception if you're not grounded, if you've not done the diet, if you're not doing the work on yourself. And by doing the work, I mean have a healthy life, have a good relationship with yourself, not have energies around you that you feel aren't aligned with you, not be telling lies, not be living, not be doing drugs, not be doing stuff that is destructive to your body and your mind and the planet. So I was in it, and a lot of this projections and a lot of stuff were coming at me, and I was going, okay, that's a projection, that's a fear, okay, that's true, and all this stuff would come at you, and then you'd find something that's really, really true, and you'd go with that, and you'd allow it to just flow through you. And the songs that are being sung, the Icaros, are creating a protecting environment when you're in there to keep you safe, but also to guide the medicine around you and take you off where you need to see these things. So I remember I was lying in the river, and I was just lying back in the heat of this hot spring river. It must have been about 4 o'clock in the morning. It was so intense, and I had just purged a lot, so I was quite dehydrated anyway. And I was in the river, and I was naked, and I was just lying there, and all of a sudden I just saw this hand, and it was Yagel, this amazing human being, and he just pulled me up out of the river, and I'm standing on the bank. He's like, Marco, are you all right? You look really weak, you look really faint and pale. I was just like, oh brother, I'm okay. And then all of a sudden I just released. You can take that whatever way you want. I released from both ends, and I just instantly felt this demon leave me. This fear, and I felt like the demons. And when I say demons, I mean addictive tendencies. I mean deeply rooted fears in my subconscious that I will one day fail myself and fail why I'm here, and not live in my truth. That I would become an alcoholic. That I would take on my father, and my ancestral trauma left me in that moment, and I felt it very deeply. Felt it leave me, and all of a sudden it was like someone was suffocating me, and all of a sudden there was like my mask was ripped off, and the fresh air of all of the trees around me came in, and I was just like, oh, I'm actually alive, and I am I'm never going to be that. And all those fears just left me in that moment. And that's just one small example. And I could speak to you, Jody, for fucking 12, 13 hours about all the learnings and the unpackings. But that was the first real shift that I wasn't even aware of that was in me that I had to let go of.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. I was going to say, like you spoke about your grandfather and your father, and like, was that part of your inspiration for going, or was it just that you? Because for me, like, it was quite like I didn't quite know what the fuck was wrong, but I just knew. It's like Neo in the Matrix, you know what I mean? It's just like, like he just feels like off, you know what I mean? I always felt that, and then through the ceremonies, like,
it
all of a
became
sudden,
clear.
like, whoa, that's what was going on. You know what I mean? Like that, like, what did you know beforehand?
No.
Or you just felt?
I didn't know. I had no idea. I was like, I'm at peace with my father. And that's the thing, my mother and my grandmother and all the family I had around, but mainly my mother did such a beautiful job being mother and father, and she did everything for me. She fucking worked so hard so I could have everything, but also was hard on me and fair. I never wanted for anything, so I never felt like I missed out on anything in my life. I actually feel so privileged and so blessed and so grateful. So I was like, oh, I don't have that. Like my dad had passed when I was 19, you know, so I was 24, I believe, when I was in the Amazon. So I was like, that was 5 years ago. And even at the time, I didn't shed a tear. I was like very at peace with it. I was like, I didn't know the man so well. He was intermittently in my life. So I didn't even know that existed in me. And then, but I really knew it when it left me, you know what I mean? So yeah, no, I didn't. And I love that you said that yourself. You're like, and I feel like so many people don't know exactly what it is because they've never had it so polarized to them and brought to their attention, because your life is constantly full of activity and all these different things are going on, and it's so layered and so busy and so full of technology and family and friends and commitments and conditioning that you don't actually get a chance to just fucking sit and maybe take a look at what's going on beneath the surface. And I feel like that's what ayahuasca does. It peels back the layers, and that's why it's been used for hundreds of thousands of years by shamans, by just indigenous tribes, by our ancestors, to fucking ask questions of themselves, ask questions of where should I go, what's true for me, what can I let go of, what's not helping me, how do I heal. And that's why I've continued to use it, you know. And even in the last month, like, I've come back now, and I did 3 ceremonies there, and last month I went to Israel, I went to Tel Aviv, and went up into the beautiful nature. It was the first week of spring with my girlfriend, and we're in such a loving relationship, and she has a lot of stuff that she's wanted to look at, and I've spoken about the medicine to her, and she's like, you know, I think that's right for me, I really feel that. And we went, and we're held in a space there with Gabriel. So Gabriel's come over and stayed with me a couple of times in Ireland. He was here for Christmas, and he's come over with Doris, his partner, who is Israeli, but she's Palestinian, excuse me. And we went, and just we're in a space that this was my 4th time ever sitting with the medicine, and I've been on the journey. Like, I was, at the time when I had ayahuasca, the first set of ceremonies, I had nothing. I was just on a journey. Like, after I went and lived in a hut on Maui at the bottom of a permaculture farm in a garden, like, I had nothing, barefoot, I had nothing. And since then I've come back to Dublin, and I've cultivated beautiful relationships and beautiful friendships, and started to find what I'm meant to be doing, I think, with my energy, through storytelling and all that. So I've built all of this stuff, and now there's like a foundation, and I felt like I've come full circle. I've given it 2 years and now the time is like, who am I now, and what can I see now? And this time around, it just basically showed me that I need to be very cautious of, like, technology, and I need to be very cautious of energy that's around me, and I need to try and get in touch with my family more. And it was quite simple this time, but it ultimately showed me the goodness inside myself, that I'm good, I'm aligned, and just to continue and to be true and to be good, try and just be good to people and be good to the planet, but ultimately to just keep going, but be aware of how technology is taking our energy away, and try to get into nature and much more. It was very simple things, but at the same time, fucking important things. And Mary Kate did deep work as well, and it was just a lie there beside her, and she was going through a lot, and I was going through a lot, and ultimately it was an overwhelmingly powerful. It's like, people say, is it intellectual, is it emotional, is it mental? Like, and I know at the start I wanted to make it demystified, and I wanted to make it accessible to people, but at the same time, for me, in my experience, it is everything. It is when you're there. It's not a vision, it's not a trip, it's not just like a feeling in your body. it's a holistic approach to every single part of your life is looked at and called up, and you're sitting with an energy. When you drink ayahuasca, did you feel the grandmother's presence, like the presence of this divine feminine Mother Earth energy that's here to just teach you and show you how to be better? Like, you feel it's an energy that you feel as a being, as a living entity inside you, like.
And it is distinctly female as well, which
It is
an interesting thing, you know. I had a really interesting one of the ceremonies. I did 5 ceremonies in the space of 10 days, but in one of the ceremonies I just had this really, like, it was complete blackness. It was just like I was alone. And then I could feel this, because like people think it's like very visual. For me, it wasn't like super visual thing. It was very like feeling, and yes, visual, but like more on the edge of my vision than anything, if that makes sense. But this blue female energy embraced me and took me by the hand, and then like led me inside my own chest, and I swam inside my own body, and I swam through every corner of my own being. And like at the end of it, it sounds strange, but at the end of it I was embracing myself.
Doesn't sound strange at all.
And like reassuring myself that, you know, I was good to a certain extent. Like, that was the message from it, was like, you know, stop being so hard on yourself. Like you're doing good. You're doing your best. Your fibre is good. Like, you mean well. You know what I mean? And it was just incredible, like, being led by the hand inside my own body and swimming through my own. It was insane. It's so hard to like vocalize something like that.
I know, it makes total sense.
Yeah. But what I wanted to say there, you just tweaked it with me there when you were talking about mysticism and about like visual versus emotional. Like, people have different beliefs about what is going on. So, you know, the traditional belief is that the plants have a spirit, you know, that like through ingesting the plant, you're connecting with the spirit of the plant, and that in turn is kind of connecting you with the greater life force of the earth to a certain extent, and in turn connecting you to yourself, because we are all part of that life force, you know. And then there's people that believe you're entering another dimension to a certain extent, and like communing with these beings, and like, I don't have like a hard belief on it. But if I was pushed to make a call, I would say that we are essentially, all of this stuff comes from us, comes from inside of us, but also from the greater energy of the world and the universe, because we are a part of that. But I think ultimately, like, we're communing with the divine inside of ourselves, rather than this like extraterrestrial or like other dimensional kind of beings. But I'm interested to hear what you think of it, like, because everyone has a different view on it, you know. I know people that fully believe that this is like an interdimensional communication kind of gateway type thing, and I'm more pushed towards the divine within myself type of angle, you know?
The universal, we are all one. I feel like when you were describing the two interpretations, that the second one is more like DMT.
Yes.
It's more like that you smoke this substance, and then all of a sudden, for like 10 to 15 minutes, you're transported somewhere else, and it's quick, you're in, and it's so strong. But anyone who's journeyed with ayahuasca, I feel, because it's much longer and you've more time to sit with it, and there's more of a conversation, that you can't help but only really come away with the first one. But again, I'm open to allowing anyone to interpret their experience whatever way they want. But for me, my truth is that of 80,000 different types of plant combinations, the first people to ever brew ayahuasca and ever drink the medicine, the tea, or whatever you want to call it, when asked how they knew what to put together out of 80,000 different types of plants combinations. Now, you've got to remember, you've got a chacruna leaf, which contains dimethyltryptamine, which your brain produces itself when you're in deep REM sleep. So that's why they say the subconscious is very important, and people don't necessarily understand dreams. And it's also excreted when you die, or when you pass over, when your body dies, which is what, when people talk about that white tunnel of light and they're going into the other world, with people who've had near-death experiences. So first of all, how did the tribes know that this leaf contained that? There's no lab, there's no testing. They're supposedly very primitive beings living in the jungle.
Yeah.
But then on top of that, there's a vine that grows, like a vine, not another leaf, a vine. That the vine has an inhibitor in it, or should I say an inhibitor blocker, because there's enzymes in your stomach that if you were to just have the leaf on its own, the enzymes in your stomach would block the passage of dimethyltryptamine, so nothing would happen basically. But the tribes knew that and when I say tribes, they're just people living in the jungle. They knew to put the vine with the leaf in order and cook it together and brew it together to make kind of like a syrup, which is what ayahuasca is. It's kind of like a chocolatey coloured syrup. It certainly doesn't taste like chocolate.
Taste like chocolate.
But like, so that alone, when asked how they knew to put them together, they said the plants told them, which I fully believe. So when you look at us objectively, if you were to zoom way out of our planet and look at the universe and look at the fact that our galaxy's here, you've got our Milky Way, our solar system, you've got 2 trillion other galaxies, right, first and foremost. So like, we're really, really small. And then when you just look at our planet, we're living species on this rock. So are plants, so are reptiles. So like, when you just zoom out and if you categorize just living organisms on the planet, like, we're so similar to plants. We need the sun, we need water, we need to be in good soil. And I see us very much growing like plants. So by us ingesting these plants, we're tapping into that information that like mushrooms. Mushrooms are so intelligent, they communicate under the surface of the earth, and there's a whole web under the planet where all of these mushrooms transfer information about the trees.
They keep the trees alive.
Oh, they keep the trees, like, it's fascinating.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, I feel like there's a deeper consciousness there, and I feel like there's a war on consciousness. I think that our society and capitalism and the framework that's set up, they don't want people to have freedom over their own consciousness, which is why these very simple substances that can allow us to reach higher states of being are forbidden. Because if we all started to reach these higher states of being, we would reject the frameworks that are killing the planet, that are no longer serving us. So for me, it's absolutely the first one. It's a oneness. Ayahuasca is a oneness. You are going into yourself, but by going into yourself, you're realizing that you are everything, and everything is you, and we're all connected. And therefore, you don't want to harm other people. Therefore, you don't want to be violent. You don't want to be aggressive. You want to try and live in harmony with yourself, with the planet. You want to try and spread love, and ultimately that's probably why it's so difficult to come back sometimes, because you start to get beaten down by society and life, and you start to realize it's not so easy, it's not so idealistic. We can't just live in the jungle. If we're to come back from the jungle and spread this message, then we're going to need to face the taxman and lighting heating bills, and you're going to need to face marketing, and you're going to need to face all of these things that are telling you that you have to be a certain way that doesn't probably feel right. But I love the question, because it really touches on what it is we're all here for, which is to live as a oneness together in harmony, and ultimately we're not, and the planet is dying. Well, should I say we're killing parts of the planet that are helping us live. But I really feel like the planet, the universe is going, it's around 13 billion years. We're around, human beings like this. How long are we around?
2.5 million, since Neanderthals, Homo sapiens,
2.5 million years.
300,000 for Homo sapien, it's a blink of an eye.
So the planet will eventually just go, Pachamama, all this will eventually just go, you know what, you're actually not serving me. It'll cough and it'll reset itself. But I hope that we try to just help heal the planet and try to go back. Can you imagine if people just all got on the same level once and just came together to try and heal and stop doing things that were not good for the planet? Within a couple of years, we could turn this around. We really could. If everyone just got on the same frequency, we could turn it all around. So that's why I'm really trying in my life to help people go and explore their own consciousness, because it could help them change the way they live, to be more in harmony with themselves, be happier. And I'm not saying this from a higher place. I think we're all equal here, but I really want people to just try and find their own happiness. I feel like I found happiness, and now I'm living back in this capitalistic environment, and I'm still living in my truth for the most part. There's times when I feel beaten down, but at the same time, I'm the happiest, most fulfilled I've ever been, and I attribute a lot of that to the medicine and what it showed me.
Absolutely. And maybe life isn't actually so much about happiness. I feel like everyone chases joy, and happiness, and that obviously is like something that is great, but maybe meaning or maybe like deep connection is more fulfilling than joy. Do you know what I mean? Like, so like
it's a need, like
yeah,
we
absolutely.
need to be connected to other people. Like, we're primitive beings,
and we're more disconnected than we've ever been. You know what I mean? And this is like, we're connected digitally to each other, but like people, there's bubbles of people. Like, I feel like the world is like, people are separating. Like, there's people who are looking at themselves and trying to figure out what the hell is going on and what part do I play in this, and how can I like be more like conscious to a certain extent. And then there's like nearly a gap where the gap is getting wider and wider between people who are looking for that and people who are on the other side of the coin, where we're going deeper into this corporate, like just consumerism, like you know, bullshit TV, just chewing gum for the brain, and like, where some people are switching off and some people are switching on, and like,
and there's no blame either, like, you know, like,
well, now everyone's a victim. Like, we're all just
trying our best, I think.
We're all just chimpanzees. We don't even know what's going on. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
and I think that's something you're trying to do, which is something I fucking really admire. You're trying to help people help themselves, because it's nobody's fault. Like, that's the thing when we're even talking about society and capitalism and all this stuff, and it's not anybody's fault that things are the way it is. Like, we're all just a product of our environment.
100%.
But there are answers there. There are other ways to live. There are other. You're not alone. Like, there's other ways to be, and that's what I love with your rewilding. That's what I love with your philosophy, and even the newsletter that you send out is like, whenever I get that, I always feel conflicted, because I'm like, I've got 50 million emails to read here that I feel are important, and then I get an email from you and I'm like, what's really important is for me to actually stop this and just read whatever Jodie's sending me, because it's probably only positivity and goodness and self-help, you know. So
very kind of you, mate.
I think that's what we share. We're ultimately not from a hierarchical place, but from a place within. We're trying to go, look around. There's other answers. Get in touch with nature, yourself. Like, you know, it's no one's fault that things are the way they are. But you don't have to drink the fucking Kool-Aid. There's other ways to live, and there's no right answer. You know, it's an experiment. While we're here, like, you're never going to reach a place where you're like, oh, that's it now. I'm there. It's a constant work. It's a constant process. Like, working on yourself and working on, trying to meet these connections and be, you know, true and loving. Trying to find love inside yourself for yourself, and trying to find love for other people. It's a constant, ongoing, and it's like, I feel like life is a consecutive series of like chess matches. Like, you've got family, you've got work, you've got life, you've got your health,
100%.
and you're just like, and not that you're trying to like win, but you're trying to constantly like help things move forward. But once you focus, or too much of your attention gets pulled to one of these games or one of these factors, other things suffer, and then you go, oh, I'm out of alignment, I gotta get back 100%. There, you know.
And how do you manage that? Like, because what you're saying there like resonates so deeply with me. It's like this thing of like, I want to spend time with my family, I want to like put more time into my friendships and make them stronger. At the same time, I want to like put more goodness out into the world. I want to try and do more things, and then like you focus on one thing and the other stuff falls off, and then like, how do you hold that center point? Because like, I know you've got the shitload of stuff going on, do you know what I mean? Like, so how do you hold that center point? It's a constant readjustment, do you know what I mean? But like,
the really honest answer is, Jodie, I don't hold the center point all the time. I'm even in this moment, I feel very out of balance. I've probably worked like 16 hours over the last 5 hours. When I say work, I mean live. I love what I do, and that sometimes is harmful because you never stop. But like, I mean, without the support of my partner, my lover, my friends, the people that are around me in collective, the people that, my family. But like, I met my mom today for coffee, right? And I spent like 25 minutes with her, and I left and I had to run back to go to a meeting, and I left feeling like why aren't I spending 3 or 4 hours with my man? Why aren't we like going for a hike or doing something like? And then I came back, and you know, I'm at a point where sometimes I'm not at a center point. But how do I get back to that? Time
what are your
alone.
strategies like that you use?
What
You know I mean?
what do I use? I go to nature, man. I get out, I turn the phone off and I go to nature and I surround myself with people that fill me up and people that I feel I share a love with or a connection with, and I listen to music, I go and dance, I get into fucking nature, I sweat. I think sweating and just exercise, we're such primitive beings. If I go and just blast out, like work my body, just push my body.
Yeah.
All my problems that I had before I went to work out, and not problems but challenges or pressures, are not half as overwhelming because I've had a release. I think love and I think sex is really important. I think actually having that release in your life and having that connection,
It's the closeness of that.
intimacy, man.
Yeah, yeah.
Just a hug, like
Yeah.
I think intimacy. Sorry, I want to correct myself. It's not just sex. Having real intimacy, being able to hug your brother or your mother, or lie in bed with your partner and just play with their hair, or like go and get a massage from one of your friends who loves you, or even just like that. How are you, brother? And asking people how they are, because usually if you ask someone how they are and you really care, they'll tell you. But they might also go, how are you? And then it's an opportunity for you to share. So having dialogue that resonates, man. Having conversations
I like
where you
that.
feel it, like.
It's funny you said that dialogue that resonates. I've heard you say that several times, and I actually wrote it down. But I was at your
Podcast.
out your podcast, Truthbangers. Check it out, which is awesome, and the live podcast. And yeah, when I heard dialogue that resonates, I love that.
That's fucking it, man. That's what I feel
That's
we're doing
what I'm
right now.
chasing. Yeah, like
Irrespective of a fucking camera and a fucking mic, we're still we're having, like, I'm buzzed off just feeling like you care about me, but also feeling like I care about you.
Yeah.
And what we're talking about here is it's stuff that is really meaningful in our lives. It's really, on a deep level, it means something to us.
Absolutely.
So by talking about that, it makes you feel better about being alive, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's. I feel like I'm blown open at the moment because I'm quite off balance today. But
I love it.
I feel like I'll go this weekend. I'll go and box tomorrow morning. I'll go to Lahinch for the weekend. I'll get in the water. I'll probably share more of these conversations and have closeness with some of my friends. I'm going to meet up with a good friend of mine tomorrow morning and have a coffee and just chat to him about music, and then I'll probably make love, man, and that'll be grand then. You know what I
Sounds
mean?
like a fabulous day.
Yeah. What about you? Because I feel like when I look at you, I feel like you have more balance, and this is again the
That's
doubt.
funny.
I feel like you're more balanced than I am. You're in nature. You're connected to yourself. You're working out all the time. You're always up early meditating. Like you're writing a lot. I feel like you have actually a lot of answers to
That's
this. So
funny. Yeah. Now, like, I feel like I'm trying to catch up with myself all the time. That's how to be honest with you, like, it's like I get these weird things where I feel like I'm looking at, like, I should be in this place or I should have this done, and it's like I'm constantly behind myself, and I'm trying to not be like that so much. I'm trying to actually just, like, things are happening, like, and that's something that I look at you and it's like you say, all in the flow, you know what I mean, which is the way it is. There's no point in, like, beating yourself up because you didn't, like, write a newsletter this week or whatever, you didn't do this or you didn't do that. If it's happening, it's happening. If it's not, it's not. You know what I mean? And you can't, you
can't
have
be
to
hard on
just
yourself.
flow with it, and like, things are happening, but I always have this pressure where I'm trying to, like, I think I should be further on than I am. And that's a bad thing, It's like, even with this, with recording and stuff, it's like I'd be like, oh, I should have this type of equipment, or I should have this, and it's like, no, just get it done.
just start,
Just
man.
do it, and it'll happen. You know what I mean? But yeah, like maybe that's part of, like, social media stuff, is that we're all, like,
Comparing.
we're all putting out
competing.
this,
Comparing,
it's all
but really
putting out-
competing in some way on a
Yeah,
subconscious
yeah.
level.
or we're just, like, putting our best foot forward in a lot of ways. You know what I mean? And
I share that, exactly what you're talking about.
I think of social media, like, I try to use it as
Tool?
as a way to keep myself answerable, rather than a way to, like, like, show off. Like,
Keep yourself answerable as in set
keep
it.
myself accountable. Yeah. So it's like, so if I'm meditating, you know what I mean, and it's like this, if I say I'm meditating, well, then I want to have to show that, and show the goods. You know what I mean? I mean, like if I say I'm like training, or if I'm saying things to other people, you should do this, or this could be good for you to do, then if I'm not doing it, that's hypocritical. Do you know what I mean? And that was a big thing. There was a lot of the stuff like that when I came back from Peru. It was like I was, you know, saying things, but I wasn't necessarily doing the business, you know.
But are you doing them things then for yourself?
Well, yeah, I'm doing it because, but like the social media is a way for me to keep myself accountable, you know, to myself as well. Because that is stuff that I want to be doing, like, but it's easy to distract yourself.
Are people connecting with what you're putting out?
Yeah, I feel like they are. Yeah,
I feel like they are.
Yeah, I feel like they are. I feel like a lot of people like see the value in like nature now. Like so many people, you see this with the rise of like the swim rise stuff, and like there's so many things now are outdoors orientated. I love that. Community orientated, you know, people are getting together, getting into the outdoors, doing breath work. You know, I was at a whim rise with Breathe with Niall a while ago, and there's like 120 people on the beach doing breath work. You know what I mean? It's like, yes. But I feel like people are connecting with that stuff, and it's I'm trying to be just more authentically me. Like and I'm still figuring out what exactly that is, you know what I mean, and what that looks like. And
where do you want to take it? Talking about accountability, here's an opportunity to talk about, let's say, where would you like to?
So, like, ultimately, I see a central, like, brand of this ancestral health thing, which is good for everybody. And the problem with that is that it encompasses so many different things, from like our physical to our mental to our spiritual well-being. And I don't think you can separate any of those things. So the problem that I have is this massive web of different things that I need to attack. So at the moment I'm trying to figure out which of these are most accessible and the most important for people, you know what I mean? And like nature obviously is definitely in there. Breathing is a big one. Movement, of course, is in there. And what are the big ones that people need? You know what I mean? What are the ones, the low-hanging fruit that are going to make the biggest difference for people?
Like that people can actually start and follow through it, like
like without causing too much disruption to their life, like you don't have to move out into a rural setting or
how can they integrate it?
And what are the things that you can honor your like ancestral way of that we've evolved and do the best for yourself in all of those regards, physical, mental, and spiritual, and live a happy life and be healthy, and there's so many issues with the health and fitness industry like that. Like there's so much of that stuff where people feel like they have to go to the gym and like 4 times a week and smash themselves, and if they're not like dying with sweat, they didn't do what they need to be done. It's always this like self-punishment, and I hate that idea of it, you know what I mean? I hate that thing. I feel like everybody now has to start educating themselves about health, about their own biology, because you can't trust anything out there now. Anyone who's selling health and fitness to you, like a lot of that stuff is absolute like codswallop, you know what I mean? And it's designed to tap into your insecurities and to take your money out of your wallet, you know what I mean? Like any short-term stuff, it's like we have to educate ourselves now. But yeah, that's part of it. And then like the work that I'm doing with the men, with rewilding and all of that stuff, like that's all based on my own experiences. As like everybody is disconnected now. Everybody needs to do this work. But I feel like the journey that I've gone through with my own like dealings with my masculine like inability to express emotion and all of that stuff is somewhere that I can work and help men with. You know, so people get maybe the wrong idea about that. I suppose sometimes like you can't do anything that excludes women now, or people get like their back up a little bit about it. So I find I have to like explain that a little bit. And it's kind of like it can be touch and go sometimes.
But I mean, like there's an imbalance in the world right now, right? And that's as a result of toxic male ego, right? And in order for men to come together to address that, they need to do that sometimes in groups where it's only men, and that's in order for the planet to be more equal and beneficial for everybody. Like, and I see you see a lot of women's circles, man. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's good.
The more sister circles and women that can come together and share time and share space and heal and hold space, the better. And if you asked a woman, do you feel safer, or do you feel you can be more vulnerable on your own in a room full of just women?
Yeah.
Would they say yes? I guarantee you they would, because there's no predatory male. The same applies for men. Like, men also will feel sometimes safer because they don't have to compete. Because there's no woman around to have to go, I have to be this macho guy to impress women.
Yeah.
No, you can just actually relax. And if other men are vulnerable, then you can be vulnerable, and that space can be held. So men on their own can heal to come back and be better brothers, sisters, brothers, husbands, fathers, all that. So anyone who's giving you shit about that doesn't understand why you're doing it.
Yeah.
Straight up.
Yeah. Yes, brother.
I love you, brother.
I love you too, brother. Thank you so much. And I want to put it on record that I'm fucking honoured to know you, and I think that you're very inspirational, and you're a very cool dude, and I'm watching you closely, mate, and I know that you're going far, you're doing cool things. So.
The lines are open, man. I'm so grateful to have you in my experience, and I'm not going anywhere other than just in and that's it,
Let's do this again sometime.
Yeah, brother. Thank you, man.
Hug it out. Yes. I love you, dude.
Love you too, man. Thank you. That was fucking beautiful.
Yes.